Okay, so what could a modern play about two guys literally doing nothing possibly have in common with an ancient sacred text about a warrior on a battlefield? Well, the answer might surprise you. Pretty much everything. Both of them are digging into this huge universal search for meaning. And today, we're going to put them side by side to see what they can teach us about our own sense of purpose. Let me ask you something. Are you waiting for something right now? Maybe it's a promotion at work or finding the right person or just some kind of sign that you're on the right track. That feeling, that sense of being in a constant state of waiting, that's exactly where our story kicks off. So, first up, let's meet Vladimir and Estragon from Samuel Beckett's famous play, Waiting for Godot. These two are, to put it mildly, completely stuck. Their days are just a loop of pointless chatter, waiting by a single sad tree for this mysterious person named Godot. They're convinced that when Godot finally shows up, he'll give them the answers. He'll give them their purpose. Now hold that thought because we're going to jump thousands of years back in time to a totally different stage, a battlefield in ancient India. And it's here that we meet our second character, Arjuna, who, believe it or not, is facing the exact same crisis. The Arjuna is this legendary warrior, a total hero, but he's about to fight a massive, devastating war against his own cousins and teachers. And right on the brink of battle, he just breaks down. He's completely overwhelmed with despair, questioning absolutely everything, his duty, his life, his very purpose. Sound familiar? He is just as stuck as Vladimir and Estragon. So here we have it. Both our heroes are paralyzed by this deep existential crisis. But, and this is the absolute key difference, Arjuna gets a guide. The god Krishna shows up to offer him a path forward. Vladimir and Estragon, they just get silence. And that single difference, guidance versus silence, brings us right to the heart of the conflict between these two works. It really all boils down to one simple, powerful idea: the choice between doing something and doing nothing. Now, the path that Krishna shows Arjuna is built on the idea of karma. And it's super important to understand. This isn't just about what goes around comes around. In the Gita, karma literally just means action. Krishna's message is incredibly direct. You have to act. You have to participate in your own life. It is not optional. But then Krishna adds this really fascinating twist. He tells Arjuna to practice something called nishkama karma, which is selfless action. The idea here is to do your duty, to take the right action, but, and this is the hard part, to let go of your attachment to the outcome. Do the work because it's the work to be done, not because of what you'll get at the end. And this is where the contrast with Godot just becomes blindingly obvious. While the Gita is all about karma or action, Vladimir and Estragon do nothing but wait. While the Gita teaches detachment from the result, they are obsessed with one single result. Godot has to show up. You could say they're trapped by an illusion or maya, caught in this repeating loop of time or kala, with zero chance of ever finding liberation. They are the perfect, tragic opposite of everything the Gita teaches. All of this brings us to a really tricky subject: hope. I mean, we always think of hope as a good thing, a virtue, right? But what if sometimes hope is actually the trap? Okay, this insight is a total game changer. What if Godot isn't a person at all? What if Godot is just the feeling of expectation itself? If that's true, the whole play shifts. It's not about two guys waiting for some man. It's about the universal human condition of always waiting for something else to come along and fix things to give us meaning. The Gita actually has a word for this. It's called asha, and it refers to that specific kind of hope or desire that chains our happiness to a future outcome that we have no control over. And according to the Gita, that attachment, well, that's one of the main reasons we suffer. And that is exactly the trap Vladimir and Estragon are in. Their hope that Godot will come is the only thing that gets them through the day. But it's also the very thing that paralyzes them. It stops them from leaving, from making their own choices, from doing anything. Their hope has become their prison, locking them in this endless, agonizing cycle of waiting. So, what do we get when we put a modern play about absolute despair right next to an ancient text about finding your way? The conclusion is actually incredibly powerful and really, really practical. Here it is. This is the core of the whole thing. Vladimir and Estragon are basically just passive consumers of their own lives. They've handed over all responsibility for their purpose to some external force they hope will just show up and give it to them. So, really, we're looking at two totally different ways to approach life. On one side, you have Beckett's world, a silent, empty universe where doing nothing leads to misery. And on the other, you have the Gita's path, a clear roadmap where the answer to despair isn't waiting, but taking meaningful action without being obsessed with the results. So, when you boil it all down, the final message is this. Meaning isn't something you find or something that gets delivered to you like a package. It's something you build, piece by piece, day by day, by consciously participating in your own life. The Gita gives us a kind of blueprint for how to build it, and waiting for Godot? Well, that's the cautionary tale, showing us the profound emptiness that comes from never even picking up the tools. And that brings us right back to where we started, with a question. But let's change it, because maybe the important question isn't, what are you waiting for? Maybe the real question is, so what are you going to do now?